Hello, good morning, and welcome back to the Football Terrace. I hope you're all having wonderful weekends. Thank you all for tuning in as ever. Lots going on in the world of Manchester United still. Woodward, Matt Judges, everybody involved in these transfer negotiations, both of players in and players out of the football club, are going to be working their fingers to the bone until deadline day. I'm sure of it. We're going to give you today some Dybala updates coming from the media and of course social media as well. Harry Maguire confirmation by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last night, and also do a bit of a review of pre-season. We don't really focus upon it too much here at the Football Terrace because it's only a practice match, and far too much weight is thrown into pre-season, whatever club it is. And of course, we're going to interact and talk to you guys and respond to your comments on these situations as well. So leave your live comments, and we'll do our best to read out as many as possible. Ryan C says, don't forget Bruno. Well, we updated on Bruno yesterday, and there hasn't been any change in the Bruno Fernandes situation. So there isn't any additional or further updates in regards to that. When it comes to Harry Maguire, that's where we're going to start today. I was really surprised, actually, to hear Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talk about the deal after the game against AC Milan. General protocol is to not speak about these transfers until after they're confirmed. You still always have that kind of underlying concern that until it's officially announced and the man's holding your shirt, it could fall through. We, of course, famously last season saw the situation with Nabil Fekir at Liverpool and how that deal fell through at the last minute. After doing his initial interview, making the promo, pictures with the shirt, medical complete. But Ollie has spoken about it. I think it all but confirms. For me, it is official confirmation. They are simply getting the legalities completed, image rights done, player registration sorted, and crossing some I's and dotting some T's. And I did get that the wrong way around on purpose. But I think at some point today, Manchester United will release a formal statement welcoming Harry Maguire to Manchester United. And of course, we spoke about this at length. It's a transfer that's it's triggered huge debate, and there's been a lot of negativity from the media towards this signing because of the price. There's been a lot of negativity from Man United fans and rivals, all about the price. So he's not imagine spending £80 million on a player that's not in the top 5 in the world or isn't world class. And you know what? I understand why people are saying it, but they're only saying it because they're doing one of two things. They either don't understand the economic landscape of football at the elite level, or secondly, they do, and they're being deliberately obtuse, thus to trigger people that are concerned about the amount of money being spent. This all being done at the time where there are clubs that are facing going out of business. There are clubs that can't pay player salaries, and they're talking about like big clubs we've all heard of. So it's one of those things where I kind of feel that more education needs to be bestowed upon sort of the footballing fraternity and the fans out there to understand why a signing like Harry Maguire was so expensive. And we're not going to jump into the details of that now, but essentially, scarcity plays a huge part. The size of Man United and the potential of improvement, the potential of financial rewards for them when it comes to signing players like Harry Maguire. Of course, a player's marketability, a player's ability to sell shirts, a player's ability to sell merchandise. All of these things play a huge factor, a huge factor. And the bigger and more popular the football club, the more money they're likely to make off of a new signing. Thus, the selling club, the vendor, will increase the price. It's just the way it works. And this has all been, there's like a 60, 70 page document produced every year by KPMG that explains this for me in very detailed on certain aspects, but they break it down and make you understand it in layman's terms as well. And that's why it is what it is. So what I implore anyone to do who's kind of frustrated at the media and frustrated at rivals that are attacking the amount of money that's being spent, Go research and learn it. And what I would say to put it all into context is when Tyrone Mings is going for 30 million, when Mustafi is going for 32 million, if he indeed goes, if that's what they're trying to get for him, and where the best centre-back in the world, Virgil van Dijk, is worth 150 million, then I don't see the issue with Harry Maguire being 80 million. And now, yes, he becomes the most expensive defender in the world. Come back in 3 or 4 years' time, he may not even be in the top 10. He may not be in the top 10. And you look at the De Ligt situation, who's the second most expensive defender ever, right? You're in this situation where he's got a buyout clause of around 130 to 140 million euros. What's crazy about that is that for world-class players of all positions, in 3 to 4 years' time, when that trigger can be, that clause can be triggered, 120 to 150 million with the going rate for world-class players. You will then look back and you will see, and you will look at signings like Gareth Bale's 85 million, and Ronaldo's and Pogba's, Harry Maguire's, AWB's, and they will seem like bargains. They will seem like bargains because the money is moving into that realm. So it's all about, you've really got, context is important, relativity is important as well in these situations, but everybody seems to remove that. Like yesterday I saw someone ranting that Man United fans and Arsenal fans shouldn't be angry at our owners because we're making millions and we're spending millions and we're in great positions. And we should look at clubs like Bolton as an example. But it's like, hang on a minute. Again, context is being removed here. The expectations of a team like Manchester United that are turning over circa £600 million a year in revenue, of course, is going to be very different from a club turning over £8 to £10 million a year. It's astronomical that people think that it's even I mean, it's the biggest. If you ever want to give an example to anybody of a false equivalence, that's it. Right, let's just do a few of your live comments here. Is your head okay? The amount of videos you make a day on the same subject. Listen, that's because news changes, as you say. If you actually go through the channel and look at what we do. Yes, in the past 3 or 4 days, we have done a lot of videos talking about Dybala, Bruno, Harry Maguire as an example. It's because the news is continually flowing, because those deals are in motion. You know, Dybala's agent is still here. We're going to get into the Dybala situation in a minute. So there's updates from it. And what we want to do is take those updates, bring them to you, and then as the community, discuss them. And that's what this is all about, creating community, creating conversation, and creating dialogue around what is going on. Simple as that. Let's do one more comment, then we'll move on to Dybala. It says, the thing with Manchester United is we set the bar levels higher than other teams. Our brand sells everything, news, merch, even agents use our brand to move players. Ibrahim, you're absolutely right. And that's part of, when you go into like the key 5 factors that make up the enterprise value of a football club, profitability is one of them as an example, and stadium and ownership rights are another. And you remember, Man United now have that. So when they renewed their sponsorship with Adidas, other than shirt sales, Man United now make the money from every other piece of merchandise that has a Man United emblem or logo on. So when you've got a club that owns the majority of its own image rights, owns its own stadium, is profitable, has a huge fan base, is the most popular football team on social media, it's going to drive the price of players up. It simply is. It's basic economics if you study them. Now, I don't study economics, but when you listen to what economic experts tell you, it makes sense, which is why I get confused about people being angry about it. Just do some research for 10 minutes. Use your brain for something other than being a sheep. It would make sense, and none of these things would trigger you. But there we go. Let's move on and talk about Dybala. I know we're all very, very excited about this deal happening. And I also see that there's still a fair element of apprehension and concern from Man United fans around whether Dybala wants this move or not. What we are hearing from the credible sources out there is that Dybala is upset and angry with the way Juventus have treated him, down to the point where Juventus wouldn't even sanction a meeting between him and the manager to try and give him some clarity and some closure on the situation. They won't let him train with the first team. They've said you can do your medicals, you can come in and train at the club's facilities, but you are not to train with the first team. This has caused huge sort of friction amongst the fan base of Juventus. Massive ripple effects, a lot of angry fans at the way that Dybala has been treated. Where that's played into Manchester United's hands is that he has instructed his representatives that are still in London, had further talks yesterday amid trying to fix his image rights issues in London with Manchester United yesterday. He is pushing for this move. He is just hasn't made his mind up yet in terms of this is exactly what I'm going to do. But he's positive about a move to Manchester United. Equally, we saw yesterday stuff which isn't really connected to either of the football clubs, but it's an interesting one. So he had a haircut, which I wouldn't normally give two hoots about. But then his barber posted on Instagram, basically thanking him for his custom and wishing him good luck in the future, which is a little bit strange, if you ask me. Because if Dybala isn't leaving, it doesn't confirm Man United, by the way, but if Dybala isn't leaving, why is his barber saying goodbye? I don't get it. I don't get it. How do we accept the fact he doesn't want to come, is what Thomas says. Listen, I don't think any Man United fan is going to delude themselves and have this idea circulating in their mind that Dybala has had this long-standing desire to move and move to England and play for Manchester United. I don't think that's the case. But your situations in life change. Forget football for a minute. I've had situations, and I'm sure lots of you watching have had situations where you've been at a certain job or you've been in a particular relationship. And at a certain point in time, you have no desires to go and work for a rival company or leave that person or move to a new town, wherever it is. You're happy where you are. But circumstances change. The people you're with, the company you work for. Change can happen that can have a knock-on effect. And if you work backwards and just do this in your life generally. Do it as an exercise. I think it's quite therapeutic and cathartic in many ways. Is work backwards and go back and find those key events and moments that led to where you are now. And that's why I don't waste any energy worrying about any of that. He could be a Di Maria 2.0. He could be absolutely sensational. Nobody knows. It's all opinion and theory at this moment in time, and it's not worth an ounce of your time, because this isn't a player who is trying to. What we normally see are players trying to get new contracts. Players are trying to inflate their value. We see players that are purely chasing money. None of this was initiated by Dybala or his people. It was all initiated by Juventus. The situation compared to Angel Di Maria is, I think, there are similarities in the fact that Real Madrid didn't want Angel Di Maria anymore. But there was where this is different is Dybala is taking his time. Dybala he's not rushing into anything. They're deliberating over the situation. So there are similarities between the two things, which is why people sit there and think, it could happen again. But you could argue that about a number of deals. You could argue that about a number of deals in many, many ways that go on and that happen. Let's take it away from Man United. Let's just look at this summer to keep it as relevant as possible. Did Dani Ceballos finish the season last year and say, I want to join Arsenal on loan for a year? Did that happen? The answer is probably not. He probably didn't do that. There probably wasn't any desire for him to want to do that. But circumstance change. Real Madrid say, we want to put you out on loan for a year. We want you to get more game time. We want you to round your game off and want to find you a club where you're going to get regular football, because that's not going to happen here. Okay, cool. So he makes a professional decision and moves on. So I get the Angel Di Maria angle. I understand the viewpoint, but it isn't worth any time or energy. We will see almost instantly in the first few games what he really thinks and feels of the football club. I just get the sense, though, that we know now with hindsight that Angel Di Maria didn't want to join Manchester United. We know that. He always wanted to push away, didn't have any desires to be here. When you listen to the people, again, that are credible in these situations, they're telling us that he's up for it. He's up for coming to Manchester United, although he's disappointed at the other end. Can we have the Carlos Tevez angle? Well, the Carlos Tevez situation was a really interesting one because he wanted to come to Man United. He came, he spent 2 years here. And look, he joined our local rivals, and I'll never really forgive him for that. I won't forgive him for that. But he really wanted to stay. It was the fact that Man United didn't make their offer early enough. So if Man United would have paid the £25 million to sign him and would have got the offer in early, he would have stayed at Man United. So it's one of those things where, again, it's a difficult one. Where, again, I see the Dybala situation being different. I get the Angel Di Maria comparison. I get that. But people comparing it to Alexis Sanchez as well. And again, that was very different. He was basically on the medical table of City, and we came in with a ludicrous offer to turn his head. It's a very different scenario to the one that Dybala's in now. But only time's going to tell on that. And I think that if he comes and he flops, well, we're all going to be disappointed. But he equally could be absolutely amazing. We had a big super chat come in here, which I'm going to put up on my screen now, from Michael Collins, who says, Terry, if we sign Bruno and Dybala, how many trophies do you think United will win next year? Appreciate your hard work. Much love from Minneapolis. Do you know what, mate? I went to Minneapolis many years ago now. I had a kickboxing tournament there. And I want to say it was in St. Paul's. I think it was. I was very young. I was only about 15 years old. And I loved it because I grew up, and one of my favourite trilogy of films was the Mighty Ducks, and obviously that was based in I think it was Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and it was a state that I always wanted to go to. Absolutely beautiful part of the world, and I went in like the middle of winter as well, so it was freezing. So yeah, thank you very much, Michael, for your super chat. It means the world. Thank you. On to your point and question. I don't know how many trophies. I think if we sign those two players with what we've got, I think the Europa League is a huge possibility for us, again, to pick up that trophy. And I think we have a great shout domestically at a League Cup or an FA Cup. I don't think we're going to have enough to challenge for the Premier League title this year. I've said that all summer, regardless of who we sign. But I think there will be major improvements in this team moving into the new season. I think that, and I believe that we will fare better against the bigger teams. So we'll push ourselves into that top four. We'll have the ability on our day to beat anybody, meaning an FA Cup or a League Cup is possible. And I think when it comes to the Europa League, it's slightly depending on who drops down out of the group stages. Sometimes you get a couple of real big boys that drop down into the Europa League because they have a poor group stage of the Champions League. Sorry, I've got a wasp that's buzzing around me, and I really don't like them. I'm proper scared of them. Like, I'm not even going to lie, right? I won't even hide that on camera. The other day I was out with my kids and a wasp came over. I left my kids. I was gone. They legitimately scare me, and now I feel like it's on me. Yeah. Also, I'm allergic to their sting, so it's not good. But there we go. Someone says, bro, look, yeah, I'm honestly scared of them. It's one of those things, right? I can't even, like, man up around it. I can't even be like, yeah, I'll tough it out. I'm just like, nah, I go. I was on holiday once, right? And I was standing there. I was really young. I was standing there, and I had I was fully dressed, right? We were going out for the evening, and about 3 or 4 of these big black wasps were like coming towards us. They wouldn't leave us alone. I was in my clothes. I jumped in the pool, and you know, like when you jump in the pool and the pool's closed on holiday, how crazy the security go. Yeah, it was funny. It was a funny day. But yeah, I'm not God. I didn't care about ruining my clothes. I didn't care about having to go and have a shower, wash my hair again. There was a wasp. I was gone. Yeah, I'd sacrifice my children to not have a wasp come near me. I'm a terrible father. There we go. Terry, you are Ant-Man. Ant-Man's one of my favourite characters in Marvel. Because I like Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd's funny. And Marvel really needed that. I was talking to someone about this the other day, right? We're going to really change subject from out here. People were talking about like DC versus Marvel. And there isn't any competition. Like, the Marvel collection of films is so much better than DC's. And I exclude the Dark Knight trilogy because it's not part of this same Justice League group. Does that make sense? It's a different set of films. And the reason why, the biggest reason why, in my view, is that Marvel did it over such a long period of time, and we've all got a like vested interest in the characters. We care about them. Where Justice League and DC have rushed it so quickly, we haven't had enough time to build up an affinity and affection for the characters. So it's like, I don't know, if any of the Justice League characters died, I wouldn't care. But when, I'm not going to say who, but when certain characters pass on in Marvel situation, actually, there's a genuine sense of sadness. Yeah. Anyway, why do we come to that? Oh, yeah, because there's a wasp and so called me Ant-Man. Pre-season review. I want to talk a little bit about pre-season. What have you made of it? You talk about your club as well. We don't just have to talk about Manchester United. But, yeah, it's an interesting one for me because I don't... I used to, a couple of years ago, I spent quite a bit of time reviewing games in pre-season and breaking down tactics and how we're going to play next season and all this stuff. And then I kind of realized that it really doesn't count for much. I've seen teams have brilliant pre-seasons and poor actual seasons. I've seen average pre-seasons and teams become champions. You know, Liverpool and Man City have kind of struggled in pre-season. So have Chelsea. In relation to results, doesn't mean anything. Literally doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Now it could transpire and Chelsea have a poor season and we all say, oh look, see, there you go. Chelsea had a poor season. It's because their pre-season was bad. Yeah, what about teams that have great pre-seasons and then poor seasons? How do you correlate it? So people put far too much weight on it, but I understand why TV companies do it, news outlets do it, the clubs do it, even fan channels. I get why they do it, because there's money to be made. If we build these games up as having significance and importance, people then have a vested interest, meaning they will watch our content, they will click on our news articles, they will subscribe to our, Man United as an example. The amount of people that will subscribe to MUTV just to watch the pre-season games and listen to the build-up and watch them train, because so much emphasis is placed on it. Everyone's making money, but it's practice. They're practice matches. The only good thing I like about it is it gives Man United the opportunity to show the team off to our very, very dedicated and very, very passionate fans from around the world. And I was very impressed, for instance, in Singapore, with the atmosphere made by the crowd and stuff like that. So I think it's brilliant from that point of view. But I don't spend too much time dwelling on, oh, this went right and this. I mean, I've seen people kicking off about starting lineups. Which I find absolutely shocking. It's a starting lineup and you're moaning about it in pre-season when you know at half-time there's going to be complete and utter change. But people do like they nitpick too much these days. We've got a super chat we've got to do here from John, who says, Quicksilver is my favourite character in the MCU. Died a hero. Hate the X-Men version, not the comic book accuracy, from Melbourne, Australia. Josh, there you go. Do you know, I never really read the comic. I've never really been a comic book guy. I've only ever watched the film, so it's always hard for me to... It's a bit like with the... you know, you always get the outrage online when, I don't know, that they make Captain America black, or Thor's now going to be a woman, or the person who's going to yield the hammer is going to be a woman, or whatever, when they make these changes, and everybody kicks off, and then you get the comic book fans that are like, yeah, but that's actually happened in the comics, so it's real. And it should happen like that. Like, films that adapt from books or from comics, there should be such a close unity and parallel to what the comics books said. So no, I agree with you. But I'm reading out and talking about that subject again just because you super chatted, mate. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Have you milked... Have I milked a Frenchman? No, I haven't. I've got some good friends that are French, but I haven't milked any of them. No, I haven't. I had to think there. Have I done that? No. Not even on a drunken night in Paris. But yes, so pre-season can be dwelled upon and spoken about and focused on far too much, in my opinion. But I understand why. In terms of Manchester United, I think the encouragement comes from the fact that great energy, fitness levels look good, players look hungry, they look sharp. I've enjoyed how we've pressed. My concern would be, without Paul Pogba in that midfield, there's a genuine weakness. There's a genuine lack of creativity. We're going to touch on Paul Pogba later on today. But yeah, there is a big concern. There is a big worry about it from my point of view. I don't really know what's going to happen if he gets injured or if he does go. That's why the Bruno Fernandes situation, I feel, is imperative and important. And I think when by the way, Scott McTominay did very, very well in yesterday's game. 2-footed. And the game improved when Matic come off. There's no doubt about it in midfield. I think Fred actually came on and was very, very good in possession. What I liked about Fred yesterday, he didn't dilly-dally on the ball. I think that's sometimes his biggest issue. He gets hold of the ball and he takes a touch, one too many touches, or he, I thought that wasp was on my leg. It wasn't, just the wind blowing the hairs on my leg. I'm such a coward when it comes to bees and wasps. But yeah, essentially, yeah, Fred was very, very good when he came on, moved the ball quicker. That then, in turn, made things easier for McTominay because he wasn't under as much pressure in central midfield. And I think the youngsters coming on gave a burst of energy, and United looked better. So for the opening game of the season, who starts? And that's the real big question. I think we know that De Gea starts. We know Lindelof starts. We know Shaw. We know Wan-Bissaka starts. I think that four of the back five are an absolute certainty. Pogba starts if he's fit in the middle. We're probably going to play 4-2-3-1. I think McTominay is going to start. I think he's warranted and earned his place. I think Rashford and Martial are going to start in that game. And then there's two other positions up for grabs. So I think there's three positions that are available for the squad outside of the people I've mentioned. Harry Maguire will probably come into that centre-back position. So it leaves two, really. And then you're looking at Massa, Mason Greenwood. You're looking at Lingard, who looked sharp when he came on yesterday, as an example. You're looking at those players, and are they going to be the ones to come in? Alexis Sanchez may be ready. You've got, we mentioned Greenwood, and Gomez has looked very, very good. It's a real difficult one to know who's going to fit into those positions, and of course, picking your bench is going to be right. Dan James. I feel that what will happen on Sunday against Chelsea, I think that the likes of Dan James, Gomez, Greenwood will all start on that bench. I think they'll be used in the early part of the season, potentially as impact players, last 15, last 20 minutes of games if required and needed. Especially Dan James. I think he's going to be a slow burner this season. I doubt he's going to start the opening game of the campaign. My fear, though, is that this nitpicking and this over-enthusiastic focus, and there's probably there's a word out there that can probably quantify people that focus on things in too much detail at times, on every starting lineup, every substitution that's made, every little minute decision and judgment that's made by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be reviewed and ripped apart so much, and I do hope that doesn't happen, and people just understand that no matter what you think or how qualified you are, other managers and other coaches and other people will do something different. And there comes a time where we've got to start to realise now, whether it's a society issue or just plain old football, we've got to learn to accept that people are going to do things different to you. Let's encourage the team, let's look for the positives, let's focus on some of the positives, as opposed to always looking at, I don't like this and I don't like that. And the bit that gets to me is, if you are going to moan about it, at least wait until after the game. Don't moan about it. Like, what I've now switched off from doing is going on social media when the teams are announced, because it doesn't matter what team goes out, there's always some group, a particular group, that are moaning and crying and bitching and whining. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to the nth degree. It really, really is. But listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in as always. Actually, we'll do a few of your live comments actually here. Terry, can us fans really do something to bring about change in the ownership in the way the club is operated? Yes, but it's going to take a drastic measure. Wearing a green and gold t-shirt isn't going to do it. Tweeting isn't going to do it. The letters are not going to do it. The only way to actually make change is to do something tangible, do something physical, do something meaningful. And in this case, if you think that they're only here to make money, cut the money off. Cut the money off. But all these people talking about cutting the money off, I mean, I know a guy, and I know I've met him at a number of games over the years, right in the middle of this Glazer out campaign. But he has travelled and paid for tickets for every single pre-season game. I get you're supporting the players, but equally you're feeding the beast of which you want killed. It don't make sense to me, but I need a new cup of tea because I was going cold. I ain't drinking any more of it. Who is my favourite player? Oh, so right now in the Man United team, my favourite player. Don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say probably Victor Lindelof at the moment. I just like what he does. Actually, maybe Scott McTominay. I love his attitude. I love his behaviour. Of all time, it's David Beckham. We've got a soft spot for Michael Carrick, Dwight York, Rooney, of course, Cantona, Stam, Vidic. There's so many. I'm just going to label off all the Man United players I've loved over the last few years. Outside of Man United, Teddy Sheringham was a great favourite of mine as well. But outside of Man United, who do I like? Alan Shearer, of course. Perez, Bergkamp, they're players that I loved and enjoyed watching a lot. David Silva is someone I like, even though he's a rival club. I was like, oh, don't like to do this, but I quite like him. I think he's a good player. So yeah, there's a few out there. There we go. I think Matic and Mata stayed as mentors. Listen, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I think they're going to play games this year. People have got to understand and they've got to accept that Youngie and Mata and Matic will play games this season. Accept it, deal with it, wipe your mouth and move on. United were never going to get rid of all the players you wanted them to. This season and next season, off-season. It's not going to happen. They're never going to get rid of everybody that you don't like and sign everybody that you do like. So get off your high horse. Stop being so selfish and pathetic and childish. And understand that it takes time to move out the players that are not good enough. It was never going to all happen in one summer. It's not going to happen in 2 summers. And equally, if these players are as dead as you say they are, why would any other decent club come in and buy them? Like, maybe if Man United fans stop slagging their own players off and we actually we love them all, maybe, you know, we didn't go to the media didn't write stories about how bad they were based off the fact that you guys slag them off every week. Maybe it'd be easier for Ed Woodward and co to find them a new football club. You ever thought about that? You know, maybe you make it harder for Manchester United. But I'm such a good fan because I moan. Getting Dybala is exciting, but what is his best position? Many say it's the false 9 or slightly behind the striker. Yeah, support striker. Yeah, he's a forward. Support striker, some people say is his best. Some people say the right-hand side of the attack is his best. It's hard because I've read 3 or 4 different scouting reports that have all said something different. Fans say something different. But for me, if he was to play just behind... I watched yesterday's game and I'm thinking... Jesse Lingard did well when he came on. No doubt about it, right? But... it's a case of like, he would just add that sauce. He would just add that extra bit of quality behind either Martial or Rashford, and I think it will move Man United to the next level. Thank you. Someone here says, I want to read this out. Emmanuel says, wow, we're just giving you our view. And you're allowed to have your view, but I'm also allowed to shoot down that view. That's how free speech works. And if the amount of you that disagree with me, the amount of people that tell me I'm wrong every day, I don't get offended by it. I don't get upset by it. I just go, great, that's your opinion. What I'm saying to you is that if I want 10 players to leave Man United and they don't all leave Man United this summer, I am the insubordinate, childish, immature person crying about it. Because it's almost impossible to get rid of that many players in one summer, especially ones who are under long contracts. It doesn't mean you can't be angry that the club have allowed this situation to develop, but it has developed. It's there. Stop wasting your energy and your time bemoaning it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to do anything. So why moan? It's not going to change. So why waste energy there? It doesn't make any sense. It's quite literally a waste of your time. Quite literally a waste of your time. And what's interesting is now I think that I think in the next week we will see a couple of defenders leave as well. I really hope that Phil Jones goes. I don't think he will, but I really hope that Phil Jones goes. I think Rojo could potentially leave, although he started yesterday, which I thought was interesting. There is a train of thought that Rojo may stay because Darmian's going to go, and with Rojo, he can play at fullback and at centre-back, so there's an element of versatility within him should he be needed. And he appears to be quite happy to not play for 2 or 3 months and get a game here and there. So that could lead to either Phil Jones or Chris Smalling leaving, which I think would probably make fans a little bit happier. Ashley Young is definitely going to be here next season, no doubt. I think he'll have 1 more year at the club. I think he'll go next summer. And I'm very happy with Ashley Young being back up. We know if AWB and Youngie are fit, they're playing in those games. That's great. Everyone's really, really happy. But yeah, I think either Jones or Smalling are going to end up leaving. Darmian will go, and we know Lukaku will leave. You couple that in with Herrera leaving and Valencia, and of course Fellaini already going. That's kind of 6 players. I mean, other than Ander Herrera that everybody quite liked, and there's still a lot of people that didn't think he was good enough. That's still sort of 5 or 6 of the deadwood brigade that are gone. Yes, we've still got to get rid of Alexis Sanchez, either Rojo, Smalling, Youngie. But once you get rid of those 4 or 5 next summer, that's kind of it, right? And it was always going to take this amount of time. It was always going to take this amount of time to move those people on. They were never all going to go in one summer. Plus, you needed to have a contingency. Imagine if we got rid of Rojo and Jones and Darmian, but we didn't land Maguire. We'd be in absolute dire straits. Imagine if we got rid of... Everyone's saying yesterday, oh, look, Pogba's missing for a game and we look weak in the middle. Yeah, I know. Imagine if the club sold a couple more midfielders that you don't like and we didn't land Bruno Fernandes, or we didn't land any other midfielders. We'd be in even worse position. You know, at the end of the day, you have to mitigate and put something in place to avoid risk. You have to have a contingency plan, which is why certain players were given new deals. Because Man United, they know how... Look, they struggle to sign players as it is. So why get rid of the players that you've got until you know you've secured new people? It just doesn't make sense for anybody to bemoan this practice, or not to, or at the very least to not understand the logic within it. That's the bit that gets to me. But we know that online, on social media, negativity sells, being angry sells, ranting sells. It makes you money. So let's create a community and a group of people that are angry and annoyed and want to fight back and push and scream. It's almost how politics works now. It's all I pretty much see politicians doing. Let's take our base and our group and let's make them angry at the other group, and then we'll just keep literally every day whipping everybody into a frenzy, making them angry, because it gets us into power. It makes us money. It makes us popular. And I just don't understand how society can't see that. Like, literally, I sit on social media looking at political stuff all the time. I don't really comment on it, but it's like, can't you see that both sides are just playing their base against each other? And they probably neither side actually believe really in what they're saying. They know there's a happy medium in the middle, like a normal, sane human being. But people are either one thing or they're the other. It's and we've seen this more and more. We've seen it in football. You know, if when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for instance, was really rated by everybody, and he was talking about the old days and bringing back the principles and the ethics and the work rate, it was like, yeah, that's what we want. He loses a few games and he talks like that, and we're like, oh, stop talking about the past. It's what's holding us back. It's not what people say, it's who's saying it and how you feel about that individual at any one time. And that's because society is weak. Society is full of too many sheep-minded people that follow what the crowd are doing rather than assessing a situation for themselves, having free thought, and then being confident enough to stand for what they believe in. Because people don't stand for what they believe in. They do the easy option and just, I'm going to side with these guys because they're the most powerful. And United have got what every kind of group of people have at the moment, is they've got a two-bob mob. They've got a little hate mob that will go after you if you criticise the wrong player or you don't criticise the right players. It's one of those things. Sorry, I had something on my leg. I thought it was a wasp. Anyway, look, I'm going to go. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.